As usual, let's start with your overview of the quarter and your thoughts on the current state of the business.
Well, it was a bit of an odd quarter. The third quarter is usually lower unless we have a new program starting production to offset the summer shutdowns. This year the summer shutdowns were a little bit longer than normal at two of our bigger customers, so we had lower shipments in July and August. But September was strong. It was our second best month ever, second only to June. So it's good that our two best months sandwich the July-August summer shutdown, and this reinforces the high level as our new normal. Production was up 11% compared to the third quarter of 2014, and more importantly, it was up 19% for the first 9 months of the year. And for those who follow the AGM presentations, you know that I always give an update of our compounded annual growth rate, and we've averaged 20% compounded annual growth since 2007. So the first 9 months with a 19% growth puts us perfectly on pace to achieve that again this year. We had a record for sampling cup shipments in the first 9 months, and of course that parallels the production growth. We've also had a strong year for installations with 6 new commitments, and that equals our best years ever in 2011 and 2013. We've had 2 installations in China at Dongfeng and Asimco, and they're both installed and commissioned now and perfectly on schedule. 1 in Korea at Dawson, which is starting production of the 27-liter engine that we mentioned in the second quarter report. 1 in Japan, which was at an undisclosed foundry, but that's been installed and progressing very well. And now most recently 2 in the TechSeed group. 1 in Portugal that was announced in July, and that's been commissioned. It was commissioned in the first half of October, so perfectly on schedule. And we're really happy to get the TechSeed de Brazil installation announced before the 3Q report so that we could include it in the report and include the news of 6 new installation commitments already this year. The Brazil equipment will be shipped in the first quarter of 2016, so it will be accounted for in the 2016 profit and loss, and that gives us a good start to next year. So production is high, record sampling cups, record installations, the exchange rates are still helping, and that all comes together to give the most satisfying result that our revenue from the first 9 months is already bigger than full year 2014. So everything we achieve now in the fourth quarter is pure growth. I enjoyed spending a few days at our technical center here in Sweden earlier this week. It's something that I haven't been able to do since before the summer because of other travel requirements. But I'm happy to report that the team is busy and they're upbeat and the colleagues are motivated by our progress and our achievements. So we're in a really good place, we're enjoying our success, and we hope that the 3Q report conveys that sense of achievement and our shareholders can share in it as well.
Everything seems to be moving in the right direction, but there is some controversy about diesel engines lately. Can you comment on the current situation and the diesel outlook?
Well, let's start by breaking down the market. First we have trucks, and by trucks we generally mean bigger than 6-liter engine size, and they will continue to be diesel. There's no change there, and trucks remain SinterCast's biggest growth opportunity in the long term. On the passenger vehicle side, we've all learned from our SinterCast experience that things in this industry change really slowly. Europe is more than 50% diesel, and that will remain a big growth opportunity for SinterCast. Within the passenger vehicle side, of course, we have the Volkswagen story. It's still early days there. There's still a big element of wait and see to see how it evolves. And that means that we have to see how it evolves for Volkswagen as a company. We have to see how it evolves for diesel passenger cars in the US and also for diesel pickups in the US. For Volkswagen, we think that it's best for SinterCast to stay out of that discussion. It doesn't help for us to add to the speculation. For diesel cars in the US, our 3-liter Audi diesel represents less than 1% of our total production, so our exposure there is very low. And Volkswagen has clearly said in their 2 November press release that they have not manipulated the software on the 3-liter diesel. For diesel pickups, and that's an important market for SinterCast, I was in the States a few weeks ago. I spoke with a lot of industry people. I also spoke with some media people. And the general consensus is that that won't change. And people who buy pickups, they buy diesel because they want a diesel. And that probably won't change. So we continue to see diesel pickups as a strong growth opportunity for SinterCast. There have been two interesting diesel developments in the US since the 18 September news. First at the Texas Truck Rodeo, so this is at the Texas State Fair, and it's the biggest auto show for pickups in North America. The Cummins 5-liter V8 diesel was chosen as the best engines. So the judges chose a diesel, they didn't choose a petrol, and that's a very nice signal. And of course it's nice that it's also a SinterCast CGI engine. And Cadillac, which is perhaps the most iconic American luxury brand, has publicly stated that they will definitely bring a diesel to the US, probably after 2019. So that shows a real confidence in the long-term diesel future for passenger vehicles in the US. Diesels are an important part of the mix. They're good for fuel economy and CO2, and this most recent problem can highlight the NOx emissions and provide an opportunity to improve the emissions. So let's not spin it. Of course, it would be better if it didn't happen, but we believe that it will be fixed, and we believe that diesels will continue to be a strong growth opportunity for SinterCast.
Can the recent difficulties at Volkswagen provide an opportunity for CGI and for SinterCast?
Well, that would be a stretch. Let's remember the facts. The fact is that the 2-liter diesel engine passed the emissions test. The engine is compliant. The problem is that the software was changed after the test finished. So this isn't really about diesel, this is about software. And it's also not about the cylinder block. So changing the block material isn't a solution path. And let's take a moment to imagine Volkswagen. Everybody is focused on fixing the problem, focused on the software, focused on the emissions hardware. They're immensely busy, they're under pressure, the world is watching, and it's absolutely not the right time to knock on the doors and say, hey fellas, how about a new engine program? How about spending a few €100 million to develop and validate a new engine so you can change the cylinder block from gray iron to CGI? It's not the right time. It's time for us to keep out of the way, to let them focus, and to not burn our credibility as a technology partner. From an engine point of view, the main contribution of CGI is to allow higher pressure and temperature. So as we increase the peak firing pressure, which we call Pmax, so as Pmax goes up, CO2 emissions and particulates go down, but NOx actually increases. And this is the classical engineering trade-off. The NOx would actually increase. Now, if this problem allows for more robust NOx solutions, then there's a potential in the future that engines can move toward higher Pmax. And as Pmax increases, there's a need for stronger materials, and stronger materials are always benefiting our chances in CGI. So there is a logic chain, but it's a long chain. And at the moment, I'm sure that nobody at Volkswagen is looking to increase Pmax to increase performance. Performance isn't the problem. And at the same time to increase the engine out NOx emissions. It's not the right path, it's not the right time.
The 3Q report included the announcement of new Cummins engine for industrial power. Can you comment on that engine and the outlook for industrial power?
Industrial power continues to make a good contribution. As we mentioned in the report, the Ford petrol engine has increased, so that's increased the passenger vehicle production. So our split is now 60% passenger vehicle, about 30% commercial vehicle, and 10% what we call other. And other is about half of automotive components other than block and head, for example, exhaust components, bed plates, and half industrial power. So in fact, the industrial power contribution is about 5%. We've been at about 10% in the other category for a long time, and we're really happy that we've been able to stay at that level, even as the production has increased from 1 million engine equivalents to above 2 million engine equivalents. The General Electric locomotive engine is our biggest contributor. Since the start of the year, it's been the only locomotive engine in the US that has passed the 2015 Tier 4 emissions. So at the moment they have exclusive supply in the market, and we're producing at Motor Castings Foundry in the US and also at Impro in China. Impro has come on this year as second source to help increase the volume. In the second quarter report, we referred to a new engine at Dawson, the 27 litre. It's low volume, but it's an important foot-in door at Dawson with the first reference, and it was also a new installation. Now in the third quarter report, we've announced a new Cummins stationary engine where we're producing the cylinder head. It's also at the Motor Castings Foundry in the US at the moment. This is our second program with Cummins after the 5-litre V8. So it's a very important reference at one of the largest diesel engine manufacturers in the world. We now have more than 15 components in production in industrial power. Most of them are well above 100 kilograms, and they'll never have high volume like car and truck engines. It's just not the nature of the market, but it will continue to be a nice contribution to the volume, and it will also give us new installations, because the foundries that make these larger castings are different from the foundries that make the car and truck castings. So it's a good contribution, and it will continue to grow.